Good evening. This is Left, Right and Centre. I'm Nidhi Rajasthan. Tonight, the horrific details emerge from the latest lynching near Alwar. The police have admitted to lapses. They admit that it took them more than 3 hours to take the lynching victim from the spot where all of this happened to a hospital which was just barely 10 to 15 minutes away. What happened in that 3 hours? Well, it turns out that the police were arranging transportation for the cows that this man was alleged to be smuggling. They also had a cup of tea. And in the end, they took this man to the police station where we have now seen pictures. He wasn't as badly injured as we thought. But when he did leave that police station and by the time he was brought to the hospital, he was dead. He was so badly injured, something happened there at the police station that caused him to lose his life. As a huge political storm breaks out over all of this, we ask whether India has lost its moral compass. And later on, as Mamata raises the pitch against the BJP, even comparing the Prime Minister to Hitler and Mussolini, and the Congress pushes for Rahul's leadership as it looks for allies, is the Modi versus the rest fight going to help the BJP or the opposition? That's coming up in just a few minutes from now. But first, let's take a look at the big story today, which continues to be the lynching in Alwar. There is revulsion across India over this lynching, in which the police took more than 3 hours to take the victim to a hospital. It was just 10-15 minutes away. And yet they took care of the cows first. They even had chai. Finally, today, the centre has responded to the mob killings by setting up a group of ministers on lynchings headed by the Home Minister himself. There's also a committee that the Home Secretary will be heading, which will give recommendations on how to address the situation, as they put it. On the ground in Rajasthan, the police have admitted to the massive lapses, but a new twist has emerged. A photo of the victim taken at the police station shows he wasn't that badly injured when he was brought there, but soon afterwards, when he was taken to the hospital, he was dead. So was he beaten by the cops? That's a key question.
The fallout has been extensive ever since an NDTV investigation revealed just how long it took the Rajasthan police here to get India's latest lynch victim, RAKBAR, to a hospital barely 4 kilometers away. When they picked him up, he was alive. But 3 hours later, he was dead on arrival. And the developments since then have raised more questions than answers. In fact, the local police today says its local team reached RAKBAR at least 20 minutes earlier than reported at first. That's 20 minutes faster they could have got him to hospital, yet he was brought in at 4 a.m. The team of two, an assistant sub-rank inspector, police official and the driver are being investigated. But so far there's been no action against them.
मैंने डीजी साहब को बता दिया, कोई भी हाई कमेटी भेज दीजिए आज की आज 3 लोगों की, और वो जाकर के सारे को रिव्यू करें। और वास्तव में अगर हमारे थाने के लेवल पर किसी प्रकार की कोई कमी रही है तो हम उनके खिलाफ जरूर कार्रवाई करेंगे।
The sole eyewitness, ASLAM, has given a statement to the police naming 5 of the 7 attackers. 3 of them have been arrested. However, this has a key U-turn by ASLAM. On Saturday, he told NDTV he could not identify the attackers. Today, not only did he name them, but he also says he heard them say they worked for the local BJP MLA. The MLA from this area is Gyandev Ahuja, who is a known Vasundhara baiter. One of the most shocking and inexplicable delays by the police was not just stopping for tea, but also arranging transport for the cows. Now a CCTV clip has emerged which shows an empty truck followed by a police jeep driving towards the police station. This was at 3:47 a.m. RAKBAR was probably in the police vehicle and declared dead on arrival 13 minutes from this moment. In all, there's one murder but 3 versions. Did the police also attack RAKBAR? An eyewitness says so.
ऐसे लात मार रहे उसके।
किसको कौन मार रहा है?
वो पुलिस वाले मार रहे।
किसको?
वो लेटा पड़ा ना उसमें। फिर मैं पहुंची उधर, वो गाड़ी वाली से दे रहे।
RAKBAR's family have their doubts.
गर्दन उसकी टूटी पड़ी है तो क्या बयान देगा? जाम उसकी दोनों टूट पड़ी, नाक टूटी पड़ी है जी। तो कोई इसका हिस्सा ऐसा नहीं बचा जी, सही सलामत, जहाँ मतलब जहाँ कुछ चल सके या कुछ बोल सके। हमारे तो हत्यारे हुए हैं जो जिनको आप बता रहे हैं, 4, 5, 6, 7 आदमी है, पुलिस पे हमारा कोई शक नहीं है।
But this raises another question. Why did the police take RAKBAR to the police station at all? Why the U-turn before police by lynching eyewitness ASLAM? आप किसी लोगों को पहचान सकते हो? पहचान पाओगे?
नहीं जी, रात के समय नहीं पहचान पाए।
The investigation is now being led by an officer of the rank of an additional SP. Their main task, not just to crack the case, but restore some faith in the police, especially given how accused in earlier mob lynching cases have been let off. In Jaipur, Harsha Kumari Singh, NDTV.
And first tonight, I'd like to go across to our panelists this evening. Samar Harlankar, the editor of indiaspend.in and factchecker.in, someone who's been doing terrific work actually in putting together databases of the kind of murders and lynchings that we've seen, whether it's related to cow vigilantes or the WhatsApp rumors. We have senior Supreme Court advocate Sanjay Hegde joining us, Zafar Sarishwala, the former Chancellor of the Maulana Azad National Urdu University. Here in the studio, lawyer and RSS supporter Mr. Deshratan Nigam, and Jaiveer Shergill of the Congress is with us today. Samar Harlankar, to you first. What is particularly shocking about this incident is Rajasthan is the impunity with which the police have acted. This more than 3 hour gap between when the incident took place and everything that happened in between. There are still so many unanswered questions about that. And then how, the victim ended up dead in the hospital. And yet the government has now today responded after 4 days saying we don't need a separate lynching law by setting up these committees. Do you think it will lead to anything?
I don't, because, I think there's clearly now a culture of impunity around these lynchings, which is why there have been so many lynchings. The one in Alwar was the 87th lynching in India since 2010, and 98% of those have been recorded since 2014. So that clearly tells you that the mobs have understood that if there is something they can get away with, it is this. As for the, I can't say specifically about this case, the details of this case, but the general trend is quite clear.
But do you get a sense that there seems to be pressure on the BJP now to do something? And the reason I ask that is because we went from a few days ago to senior leaders briefing reporters, to the Home Minister, everyone saying we don't need a separate law. And then it's become a big political issue with Rahul Gandhi jumping into it. And now you have this talk of committees. You also saw a very sharp attack by 3 ministers of the Modi government on what Rahul Gandhi said. So do you get a sense that there is a backlash somewhere to what is happening, which is causing this reaction?
Well, there's clearly a backlash, as you said, which is why we're hearing so much about lynchings, which we did not say last year or the year before that. But one thing that I really need to say here is that I think what the government needs to do very clearly is to provide some of this data on lynchings. Last week, the Minister of State for Home Affairs said there was no lynching data available. The National Crime Records Bureau does not maintain this data at all. But the fact is, in March, the National Crime Records Bureau, his own ministry, released to the Lok Sabha some data on lynchings from 9 states, and they said that there were 45 killed in 40 cases. So clearly some data exists. There's no question about that. The National Crime Records Bureau last year said in July that it was planning to put out lynchings, data on lynchings. 1 year has passed, and we know nothing about that. Even 2017 national crime data has not been released. So the point is, Nidhi, that we have to first start releasing data. And the reason why Indiaspend and Fact Checker keep this database going is simply because the government is not releasing data. So we cannot possibly take this forward until these data are released by the government.
Absolutely, and the point is that organizations like yours or even NDTV that's now also maintaining a database. We're looking at what media reports are coming in. We're cross-checking that with the various police stations and the police reports and what police FIRs have been filed, and that's how you're able to come to some database. And you guys have been doing it since 2010. Sanjay Hegde, the Supreme Court is going to hear a petition related to Rajasthan specifically, but what can the Supreme Court do in this case beyond what it has done as far as the directives that were issued last week? At the end of the day, there's clearly a sense that unless there is a political will to act on this, unless right from the top a message goes out to say that it's wrong to garland lynching convicts, that people like Mr. Meghwal who's a union minister, cannot get away with statements like it's because Mr. Modi is popular that these lynchings are happening. Unless that happens, the courts can do nothing.
Well, please don't take the courts for granted. The matter is still going to come up again on the 20th of August. The court has given very detailed guidelines. It will look as to the implementation of it. Specific cases of lynching that have happened after the court guidelines will also be brought up before the court, and the court will definitely ask for an explanation as to what happened in each of those cases. So I would not take the courts lightly. Please remember that one adverse order from a court can unseat a government. It was the Allahabad High Court order which unseated Mrs. Indira Gandhi. Please never be complacent. If I was advising the government legally, I would be a worried man today. With what face can you go back to the highest court in the country and say, sir, despite your judgment, despite your solemn orders, we have been unable to comply, and it's not our responsibility, it's a responsibility only of the states. That is not going to be taken kindly to by the Supreme Court, I can assure you that.
Well, I'm glad to hear you say that, because that still gives us some faith that hopefully the Supreme Court will intervene in some way and hold governments accountable for what is happening. Zafar Sareshwala, as somebody who has been a very strong supporter of Mr. Modi in the past and continues, I think, to be so, how do you feel today as an Indian about what is happening? I'm asking a question tonight about whether we've lost our moral compass, simply because it is incredible that the police, for instance, can do what they did in Alwar, arranging transport for the cows first, having a cup of tea, letting this man die, maybe even beating him to death. That we'll have to determine through an inquiry. But what has happened to us as a nation, Mr. Sareshwala?
Nidhi, why it's happening? I firmly believe this, that if the government of the day wants to control something, as we say in Hindi, parinda par nahi maar sakta. I mean, I refuse to believe that the government and the police cannot do. Why it's happening? Because of three things. People who are doing this, they know that no one is going to catch them. On the contrary, they will be heroes. They will be garlanded by the union ministers. And the other day I was talking to one very senior retired police officer of Mumbai, and a Hindu. He said, Zafar bhai, जो मर्डर होते हैं, रेप होते हैं, वारदातें होती हैं इस मुल्क में, लेकिन जो मर्डर रात के अंधेरे में होता है वो डरता है. मर्डर करने वाला, रेप करने वाला, गुनाह करने वाला डरता है. लेकिन यहां पर लोग तस्वीरें निकलवाते हैं, डर नहीं है, बल्कि एवरीबडी वांट्स टू लाइक एक एनिमी, कोई सोल्जर को हमने पकड़ा है, उसको मार रहे हैं और तस्वीरें ले रहे हैं, वो तस्वीरें फैल रही हैं. मतलब यहां पर पीपल डोंट वांट टू हाइड their act of heinous crime. On the contrary, they want to know, and because by that they will be free. Even if the police does a drama of catching them, the courts will release them, the government will not make a case. I think this is a dangerous thing for a country like us. We are creating a country of anarchy. Today it is Pehlu, RAKBAR, or maybe Umar, but tomorrow when you are creating, I remember now what Hillary Clinton said to Pakistan
about snakes in the backyard.
पाल रहे हो अपने backyard में पड़ोसी को ढसने के लिए. The kind of people you are developing now, they will bite you very soon, sooner than the later.
Well, it's clear that you're extremely angry with the way things are playing out today. And Mr. Nigam, it was interesting today that when Rahul Gandhi tweeted on this about what happened in Alwar, you had 3 ministers in the government sort of attacking him. Piyush Goyal called him a merchant of hate. Smriti Irani said this is vulture politics, etc., etc. I haven't seen any of these ministers tweeting this in this anger about the incidents themselves or about the garlanding of convicts. And why is that?
Let me tell you, without doing politics on the subject, none of the political parties should be calling names to each other, and I don't approve of calling of the names. And whether it is Rahul Gandhi, whether it is anybody, in fact all of them should sit together and discuss how to tackle this issue. It is becoming a serious issue. The lapse on the part of police cannot be forgiven in the case of Alwar, or for that matter anywhere else. And it's horrific that a person had to die, and at the same time Supreme Court is being very serious, as Mr. Hegde said about it, and a committee has been formed to look into it, and law cannot be made in just one day. Every aspect has to be discussed. You know, merely by making a new law does not.
What about the political patronage?
See, let me tell you, if there is a political patronage, the cause, as I told you on your show on the other day, you can catch these 4 people who were involved in it, but you won't be able to eliminate the lynching. You have to go to the cause.
No, but we had the same argument the other day. The cause and effect is a very dangerous argument.
No, it is not. It is not. It is a part of.
It doesn't matter whether the person is a thief. It doesn't matter whether the person has committed a crime. No one should be beaten to death by a mob.
I agree
That's
with
not
you.
justice.
I agree with you. What I am saying, in every jurisprudence, whether criminal or not, unless you remove the cause, you will not be able to remove the effect.
Why are these ministers not outraged about the crimes themselves?
I am sure they are.
Why are they so agitated with what Rahul Gandhi has said?
No, because that's the politics between the two parties, you know, and I am sure they are agitated. Nobody knows.
But they haven't tweeted about it also.
I am not sure about the tweet or not. No tweet.
Nothing, nothing, silence all this time.
And somebody must come out and criticize it in very plain and simple terms. A man has died, and especially the lapse of the police is something, and I tell you, it is not only in Rajasthan. I have grown up seeing police working in such a style. They work still in the old colonial style. For them, human values are the least worrisome thing.
So, JV, do you think somewhere politically a raw nerve has been touched? And, you know, I just want to say here, those who say not to politicize it, I would disagree with that, saying we should politicize this. This should be an issue that should be front and center in our political discourse, that things like this shouldn't happen. We should make this a political issue. So, do you think somewhere a raw nerve was hit today where we saw this backlash by the ministers?
Nidhi, the reality is BJP's 24/7 job is to attack Rahul Gandhi, and on ground the lynch mob force job has become to take lives of innocent people. The truth is, whether it's Swami Agnavesh, whether it is a Dalit in Gujarat, Pehlu Khan, or a 14-year-old girl in Jharkhand, lynching is spreading like a wildfire, becoming a seasoned blood sport which is being cherished by the ruling dispensation, the BJP government. Why is this happening? These lynch mob forces, Nidhi, are becoming like errant wolves which are getting bigger, stronger, because they are being consistently fed and bred by this government. A BJP MLA, Gyan Dev Ahuja, says on camera, yes, RAKBAR Khan was beaten a little bit by our workers. Hassan Ali, the medical officer, says whether if RAKBAR was brought in earlier, he could have been saved. Now the point is, BJP government doesn't realize that the Supreme Court judgment was supposed to act like a cautious warning, a wake-up call. On the other hand, the government has started lynching the Supreme Court judgment itself. And I was hearing Mr. Nigam saying law can't be made in one day, Nidhi. BJP ruled states in a jiffy have made cow protection squads. But nobody has made human protection squads. There is a cow protection squad in Haryana. There is a cow protection squad in Uttarakhand, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh. But when it comes to call for lynching law for the past 2.5 years, there is a radio silence. So where there is a will, there is a way, Nidhi. That's the main point. Now the Garland and the honor scheme, whether it is the Tea Party administration of the BJP team, Indians need to think your words today before they go to sleep. If, God forbid, their loved one is lynched, BJP ministers justify it, police stays over a Tea Party, and then the audacity says, so what, cow is our mother?
No,
this is what we are breeding. We are creating Frankenstein monsters.
You know, you have an important point there, and what I want to go back to again is this issue of data, because as Samar Harlankar mentioned right in the beginning, we have on one hand had the Minister of State for Home telling Parliament we don't have data on lynching. On the other hand, you also have the government telling Parliament that we do have some data on lynching. And Samar, let's just talk about some of the data India Spend has collected, which actually shows, and you started from 2010, but the cow-related hate crime, as you've pointed out, most of those incidents began after 2014, and obviously that's not a coincidence.
No, I don't think it is. As I said, 98% of these attacks have happened after 2014. You know, 56% of those who have been attacked have been Muslim, and 88% of those who died, 34 I think have been killed and 204 injured since 2010. But 88% of those who died have been Muslim. So that trend is quite clear. There was virtually nothing. There were, I think, a couple of stray cases before that. It started clearly, as we have found, as we have concluded, there has been this empowerment of these lynch mobs, and this culture of impunity has clearly spread across the country.
Mr. Nigam, you wanted to make a point.
Let me tell you, when the law, as and when it comes, and I hope the sooner it comes is better, when the law on lynching comes, I am sure it will not only be cow vigilantism.
It should be on everything.
It will be about witch hunting, which takes the maximum life in India on the 12 states, and it was about 175 lynching per year. I have that data, and those data is collected from various sites, and this 2000 to 2012. This
but
is
by whose data is this?
This is 12 states.
But whose data is it?
This is collected from various places. It doesn't have it one place.
If it's postcard news, then
no.
It's a bit
it is not postcard news. I know where you are hinting at.
No, I'm just wondering.
But these are the datas, and they went unnoticed. And I appreciate the fact that this issue is in public domain because of cow vigilantism, and we need an all-comprehensive law on this. There were Dalit lynchings also during that period. There were lynchings. I mean, I'm not going to 84.
Why is it so hard for the Prime Minister to spend more than 20 seconds speaking about this? I mean, don't you think we need a much more forceful intervention from him from the very top?
Mr. Rajnath Singh is equally forceful. He's the Home Minister.
He's not the Prime Minister.
No. So
the Prime Minister is the Prime Minister.
No, Prime Minister is the Prime Minister, but Home Minister's responsibility is the primary responsibility, and he's doing his job. And you don't expect, when somebody is doing his job, Prime Minister should come and intervene.
Well, we always wanted Manmohan Singh to speak.
He never did.
Well, that's why we expected Mr. Modi to be different.
So Mr. Modi does speak. I'm not saying he doesn't speak.
Yeah, but he did. He spoke on this Sanjay Hegde for about precisely 15 seconds, 20 seconds in Parliament the other day. I mean, I'm just saying that, do you believe it would make a difference if Mr. Modi made a forceful intervention on this? Or do you think it will just be empty words?
Nidhi, 2 years ago on your very channel, immediately after the Akhlaq killing, over a week later, the Prime Minister spoke very indirectly. When your anchor asked me about it, I said he had spoken too little, too late, too grudgingly. It is in the silence of the Prime Minister that many people take strength. Let me just give you one example. I'm not with regard to this Prime Minister, but I'm told that when Mr. N.T. Ramarao came into power the first time, an untested politician coming into power within a few months, the first thing he did was he called the Commissioner of Police in Hyderabad. Hyderabad was endemic for communal violence at that point of time. He told the Commissioner of Police, look, I want no communal riots. They don't benefit me, they don't benefit anyone. During NTR's time, there were no riots. We had Mayawati handling the fallout of the Babri Masjid judgment during from the Allahabad High Court. There was so much tension there. But when the top leadership sends out a message, either privately or publicly, there is a time for private messages, there is a time for public messages.
Absolutely.
And the time for public message is now. We are tired of the silence of the much talking Prime Minister. We want to hear him say loudly that every Indian matters, that every life matters.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, Zafar Sareshwala, would you agree with that? Would you like to see the Prime Minister speak forcefully on this, not make a sort of a generic passing reference as he did on Friday in Parliament, that and then put the onus on states to act? We know the states have to act, but we need to hear more from the Prime Minister of India. He's everyone's Prime Minister.
Nidhi, I don't think the speaking of Prime Minister is all needed. We need action, absolutely.
Why isn't it needed?
It's laughing that you need a law. I mean, don't we have No, I'm saying, don't we have a law for cold-blooded murder? I mean, all these lynchings, you may call it lynching or you may call it anything. These are cold-blooded murders in broad daylight. Don't we have a law for that? It is as simple as that. Because selective use of law is being done. And I am again repeating, I mean the same Gujarat. We had the original lynching and the cow vigilance were in Gujarat. Nidhi, if you remember, all riots in Gujarat started with two things. It started with cow and Rath Yatra. But I would commend Modi for that. During his tenure after 2002, for 12 years, there was not a single incident of cow lynching or anything related to cow.
So why shouldn't he as Prime Minister then?
Because Mr.
Why
Yogi
shouldn't he as Prime Minister then forcefully speak out on this?
Of the police and
Mr. Sareshwala, why shouldn't he speak out when his ministers are garlanding lynching convicts? When his ministers are saying these lynchings are happening because Mr. Modi is popular, doesn't he need to shut that down and say that this is not acceptable? Why should Jayant Sinha even be in the Union Council of Ministers right now? Should he not have been sacked? In any other democracy, he would have been.
No, in fact, my question to Jayant Sinha was, because he very easily said that they were my constituent. So my question to him was, that widow, was she not your constituent?
Exactly.
You did not visit the widow. And
Which
in
is
fact,
why I'm
I
saying
took
it's
head on
important for the
Mr.
PM to
Meghwal
speak
also.
on this.
I asked him and he replied to me.
Which is why we're saying that it's
I would
important.
want the PM, rather than speaking, the PM should ask these people and make these people accountable. The respective chief ministers should be brought to book and they should be brought accountable for what's happening rather than only
garland
speaking.
Convicts, I don't think have a place in his Council of Ministers either. I have to leave it at that today, but we're continuing to focus very closely on this very sort of startling story of lynchings in India, and we will focus on this tomorrow as well. Thank you to our panelists for joining us on this Alwar story tonight.